At the beginning of this NHL season, I made 10 bold predictions that I thought would happen during the year. And today we're going to be reacting and grading each and every one of them. A couple weeks ago, we ended up grading my breakout picks for this year. Some turned out really good, some turned out really bad. So hopefully the bold predictions turn out better here. So make sure you watch till the end to find out how right, how wrong I was, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content just like this every single weekday, all throughout the year. Now we're going to get into just how crazy my bold predictions were, but first let's talk about today's sponsor in Sleeper Fantasy. If you guys don't know already, Sleeper Fantasy is the best place to take your hockey knowledge and turn it into a big payday. All you guys got to do is pick more or less on different players every day, and even though there's only one game on the schedule tonight, that is not going to stop us from winning big. We actually got a protected pick up to $20, and we're going to maximize that to potentially win 114. I got 5 different picks here today, and if you guys want to join us, go in the description, click on the link, and when you sign up, use promo code GRAV on your first deposit, and you can get up to a $500 match. But when we look at my picks today, first I got Alex Tuch, more than 0.5 points. He's been really consistent for the Sabres in that regard lately. I also got Timo Meier, more than 0.5 goals. A little bit more of a risky one, but Timo has been brilliant since the coaching change, and I'm a believer in him tonight. But I got a few players less than 0.5. I got Jesper Bratt less than 0.5 goals, Eric Hall less than 0.5 goals, and Dawson Mercer less than 0.5 goals. These don't really add too much value, but when you stack it up, it can become really big there too. So we're going to place it, and hopefully we can win by the end. So hopefully you guys enjoy my picks today. If you guys want to join me in making your own picks, go in the description, sign up to Sleeper, and use promo code GRAV. And thank you so much to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. Now here we are. 6 months ago, I made my bold predictions for the 2023-24 season, and you can already get an idea of one of them. All I remember is that I had a couple of really bad ones, so we'll see how they work out here. Now let's officially get started with my first bold prediction of 2024, and this one turned out weird, and I'll get into it in a second. For my first bold prediction, I had Mikhail Sergachev solidifying himself as a top 10 NHL D. Now this one I was very confident in. If he stayed healthy, if he stayed at the level that he was at last year, to me he could have really put himself in that top 10 position, but that was the big key, staying healthy. Sergachev would actually get a lower body injury back in mid-December, and it would take him 3 months to fully return. When he did, he would play in the New York Rangers, and in that first game back, he would get another lower body injury, and at the very least will be out for the rest of the regular season. And it really sucks because going into the year, I was pretty confident about this prediction. You can see Hedman and Sergachev's stats in 2023 comparatively. Sergachev with a lot more points and one more goal and slightly more average time on ice as well. He was outpacing Hedman throughout the year in a lot of key categories, and to me was just another good year away from being in that top 10 conversation. Unfortunately for me and Sergachev, not only was this year injury riddled, I also don't think he played very well this year. In 34 games, he got 19 points, which isn't too bad, but I thought defensively is where he took a major step back. He was okay last year, nothing special, but this year was a pretty big disaster, and on top of the injuries, it was just an awful year. I'm gonna give the pick a D-, very close to F, I assure you, and if I remember correctly about my bold predictions, there will be an F coming up, I can tell you that. Next up now, moving on to my second bold prediction, and this one is also pretty fascinating, going on to another Atlantic Division D. For my second bold prediction, I had Mike Matheson getting Norris Trophy votes. Now here's the thing, we don't know quite yet whether this prediction will become true or not. We have to wait until after the season, after all of the awards are revealed, to actually see if he got Norris Trophy votes, but I think the chances are okay here. You can see last year in the Norris Trophy race, 19 different D end up getting at least 1 vote in the Norris Trophy race, and all that has to happen for this prediction to come true is for one Montreal rider, just one, to have Mike Matheson in 5th place. That's all I'm asking for. Matheson, I think, also pretty underratedly has had a great offensive season. Ranking D this year, he comes tied 10th with Morgan Rielly, 51 points and 10 goals. And I think even though we've had a lot of conversation about him not passing to Slafkovsky on the power play, I think that's kind of clouded just how solid he has been offensively for this Habs team. And I think is a leader that Montreal should keep in the future. Somebody that's had a pretty good year offensively, and even on defense, there are some issues. He's still what he is, a great smooth skating offensive D, and in that role, he's been great for the Habs. As of right now, I'm going to give the prediction a C-. Also in the predictions, I said Norris Trophy votes, implying more than 1, and I don't think Matheson has had quite the good enough season to truly cement himself at that level quite yet. Now let's move on to my third bold prediction of the season, and this is one that actually has become fascinating because earlier in the year, I would have said it was a slam dunk, an A+ type of prediction, but lately, it's actually gotten really close. And from that bold prediction, I predicted that Jeremy Swayman would outperform Linus Ullmark this year. Now, you could kind of go on either side of the equation. In terms of the actual counting stats, in 40 games, Jeremy Swayman has a .916 save percentage, and Linus Ullmark in 36 games is a .914. So in those two categories, Swayman does have the advantage. But recently, Linus Ullmark has been a much better goalie than Swayman has, and that might tip the scales a little bit. It looks like Linus Ullmark has the advantage as the playoff starter, and to me, that could sway the grade a little bit here. This is one that I would have given an A or an A+ earlier because Swayman was absolutely the better goaltender early on, but now I'm gonna kind of give it an average grade. I'm gonna give it a C+, still pretty decent, and I still would say that Swayman has been a great goaltender and better than Linus Ullmark for a lot of this season, but I think it's kind of tipping towards Ullmark, which makes things a lot more tricky. Now, this next bold prediction was spicy, it was hot, it was one of my biggest bold predictions heading into the year, and it was one that I wasn't totally confident in, but I could absolutely see happening. For my next bold prediction, I had Joel Hofer becoming St. Louis's starter and being top 5 in the Calder Trophy vote. Now, just like the Matheson one, in terms of the actual award voting, we don't know quite yet, but I do say in terms of the actual prediction of the award for the Calder Trophy, Hofer could absolutely be in the mix. You can see at 23 years old as a goalie in 26 games this year, he's been great in those games. Hasn't played a ton, but in 26 games has a .273 goals against average and a .917 save percentage, about as good for a rookie as you could expect. The Calder Trophy race is starting to solidify itself a little bit. You obviously have Connor Bedard likely as a leading man with Brock Faber right behind him. You could have Luke Hughes in the conversation there, but I think some of the defensive woes might scare people away. And you got some solid players like Marco Rossi, Cooley, Evangelista in the mix too. Players like Mintyukov as well that have played absolutely incredibly. But then you look at the goalie crop, and I would say Hofer by far has been the best. A .917 save percentage in 26 games, and considering what he's been able to do this year, you could absolutely see him sneak into that top 5, maybe even the top 3. The problem is that was only half of the bold prediction. The other half is that he would become St. Louis's starter, and here's the thing. Binnington coming into this year had some just really consistently rough seasons, 2 back-to-back years where it was just disappointing results in the regular season, and last year, he was just rough. It was not great, and this year I thought there could be a chance that could continue, that Hofer could come in and get a lot of games, maybe not, 60 games or something, but maybe split and maybe even get a couple more games than Binnington, but give credit where it is due, especially since the new year. Binnington has been incredible, a .912 save percentage in 52 games, and is clearly St. Louis's starter. So in one way it went well, in another it didn't. I'm going to give the grade a B- and kind of meet in the middle here. Okay, so I just looked at the next bold prediction. I was hoping that things could get better for me. They do not. For my 5th bold prediction, I predicted that Johnny Goodro would reach 90+ points this year. Oh boy. Now, to be fair, there's no way to be fair. There's no reasoning with this take. There was no making it better. This was an absolute failure in every single way. I thought for Goodro, his first year in Columbus was actually pretty underrated. A lot of people were slamming on him. I thought he was leading that Columbus team that really had no offense to a little bit of a better stretch. This year, though, has just been sad to watch. 73 games, 11 goals, 54 points. I mean, he has been worse than he was last year by a wide margin, and I think it's one of the main reasons why Columbus has struggled so much. I mean, Goodro, I thought, was solid last year. I thought we'd see him be back to his even better level in his second year when he's more accustomed to the system on a new team after he'd been in Calgary for so long, but that was not the case. Unfortunately for me, not only did he disappoint this year and not reach those heights, he's quickly becoming one of the worst contracts in the NHL. So it's a pretty rough one for me. It's an F, absolutely, 100%. Now, thankfully, this next one does get better for me. Thank goodness, hockey gods, because with my next bold prediction, I picked that Vasily Podkolzin would have another stagnant season, that we wouldn't see much progression in his game, and that he wouldn't become the player the Canucks want him to be at 10th overall, and that's proving to be pretty true. One of my big reasonings was that the Canucks forward group, especially on the right wing, was pretty stacked, pretty up the lineup, and I didn't really see Podkolzin getting much more than a 4th line role, and so far that has been absolutely correct. He's only played 11 NHL games this year, getting 1 assist for 1 point, has mostly been in the AHL, where he's got some pretty good goal scoring going, but points-wise has been a little bit of a points per game downgrade compared to last year too. So for me, it's actually pretty interesting. We've actually seen maybe a worse season out of him compared to last year, and especially with him turning 23 after this year, time is ticking. And there is still time, I think, for him to become a decent NHLer. I think he can be that, but another stagnant season was expected, and it's come. I'm going to give the grade an A+. Thankfully, we're back on track. Now, we keep going with the better picks because, thank goodness, I needed them. Next up here for my next bold prediction, I predicted that Logan Thompson will become Vegas' starter again after losing it, after he got injured last year to Adin Hill and losing it as he had a miraculous playoff run. I saw Thompson getting back into form, being healthy again, and actually being a great goaltender. My reasoning was because he was such a good goalie, he would have been top 3 in the Calder conversation if he were healthy, that I could see him rebounding this year. And so far, I think he's actually done pretty well. In terms of the actual games played, he has been their starter this season. In 39 games is a .907 save percentage. You look as well to Adin Hill, who has a better save percentage this year, but has kind of been inconsistent as of late. And 32 games is a .914 save percentage. In terms of being the better goalie, maybe there's been stretches where Adin Hill has been that, but I think in terms of Vegas' starter, Logan Thompson takes it. I will say this, because Adin Hill has been a better goaltender throughout decent stretches of the season, I don't think this is an amazing prediction. I don't think Thompson ran away with the starter job or anything, but in terms of games played, Thompson has been that guy, so I'm still going to give it a B+. Now, this next bold prediction was one of my favorites last year, a pretty funny one here that almost has come true, and still, I guess, could technically come true in the end. But for my next bold prediction, I said that the San Jose Sharks would allow the most goals against in the cap era. Now, here's the thing. When you come into the season with your defense looking like this, with players like Jan Rutta having top 4 time, with Marc-Edouard Vlasic getting amazing time on ice with the play that he has had, I thought San Jose would be a dreadful defensive team, and especially on the forward group too, would have trouble defensively. And even though this is the forward lineup now, it wasn't looking that much better, even with Hertl and Couture potentially being in the lineup. There was just so many question marks with the Sharks team, and off the goaltending, I thought the defense was going to be horrible for them. The goaltending has actually proved to be decent. I thought Mackenzie Blackwood was pretty solid. Kaapo Kähkönen was also pretty solid this year, and that was maybe the only thing that saved them from being even worse. And when we look at all-time goals against, and right now we're just looking at goals against per game because San Jose still has 10 games to play, but since 2005-2006, they are the second worst team in goals against per game, just behind the Ducks of last year by a 0.08%. They're really right there in the race, and even though they didn't quite meet this threshold, and I don't think they will, San Jose got pretty close here, which was to be predicted. Still though, because they didn't quite reach that mark, at least I don't think they will, I'm going to give the grade a B, but if they do reach it, an A+ for sure. Next up, we move on to my second to last bold prediction to start the year, and this is one also like the Hofer pick that was one of my most consistent bold predictions heading to the season, and it has been an absolute whirlwind to watch this team this year. But for my second to last bold prediction, I said the Nashville Predators would make the playoffs this year. And just watching this team, especially over the last couple months, has been absolutely blissful. I think they were on like a 16-game or 18-game point streak. It was absolutely insane. But coming into the year, I had so much hope for this Nashville team because of a lot of the changes they made in the offseason. I think some people were kind of hesitant on them. Of course, buying out Johansson, buying out Duchesne, 2 players that were big cornerstones of the team. I think a lot of people were wondering about that offense, wondering about that defense, and I don't think a lot of people predicted them to be in the playoff race. Maybe to be an okay team, maybe to be a decent team in the Central, but not to actually get over that hump. And here's the thing, I don't blame anybody for not predicting Nashville to be in the playoffs. For a lot of their lineup, you could just call it mid, but I saw Ryan O'Reilly and the playoff run he had with Toronto last year, and I knew there was still something in him, and he has been brilliant this year. Philip Forsberg has gone back to that elite level and is having maybe his best, most valuable season. Gustav Nyquist, finally healthy, has been also a valuable piece. If you just go down the lineup and the depth they've had, Colton Sissons, Tommy Novak, Mark Jankowski has been great for them. Luke Evangelista has been a great rookie. You also got that fourth line, players like Cole Smith, Michael McCarron. They've all been coming up in big ways for them. And that defense too. Yossi has had an unbelievable second half. But players like Ryan McDonough have played well. Jeremy Lauzon has actually filled a role too. And then of course you have the goaltending. And you got UC Saros, you got Kevin Lankinen, especially in the second half. Saros has been brilliant for them and has been a major piece to their winning success. But here's the thing. The big reason why I predicted Nashville to make the playoffs was their head coaching hire in Andrew Brunette. Wherever he has gone over the past few years, success has followed him. Whether he's been an assistant coach, a head coach, whether it be of Florida, of New Jersey, and now the Nashville Predators, he has been an elite coach, and his teams have gotten elite success. And Nashville is just another team in that long line under Brunette that is going to be a playoff team, and it's going to be a pretty good one too. I'm going to give the pick an A+. How could I not? I gotta have a win when I can get one. Because Lord knows my final bold prediction did not go too well. For my final bold prediction heading into this season, I predicted that Gabriel Vilardi would play so well for the Winnipeg Jets that he would make Mark Scheifele expendable, and that they would trade him to either the Wild, the Bruins, or whoever it might have been. Basically, my prediction was that Vilardi was going to play so well that Scheifele would be gone, and this one was proven wrong almost immediately. I pulled out my bold predictions video on September 8th, 2023, and you want to know how long it took for the Jets to re-sign Scheifele and Connor Hellebuck? It took them 1 month. Within 1 month, my biggest, boldest prediction of the year was shattered, and that was just harsh reality coming to bite me. Still, though, of how Gabe Vilardi has played with the Jets when he has been healthy this year, it was great to see. 38 games, 30 points, and even though health is still a major concern, when he does become healthy, he is going to be a massive player for this Jets team. But Mark Scheifele, of course, is going to be a mainstay now of his contract extension. Hasn't had the craziest year or anything, but 64 points, 66 games is still pretty great offensively, and they reset him almost immediately. It was hilarious, it was amazing, and you got to give the pick a straight F. But those were my bold predictions for the 2024 season. Some ones that turned out pretty good, some ones that turned out mid, and some that turned out pretty great. Only a couple this time around, but you know what? I try to go as bold as I possibly can every single year, and as long as one of them hits, I'm perfectly fine with that, and we had a couple of pretty solid ones here today. So I want to know in the comments down below, what did you guys think of my bold predictions and how they've turned out? How would you grade my bold predictions? And let me know as well, what were your bold predictions coming into the year? How have they turned out just a few months later? I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more hockey videos just like this. And every like, every subscription goes a long way in the YouTube algorithm. Every bit is appreciated. Of course, go support Sleeper and use my code there as well. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great hockey day, and goodbye.